What is below the House of Black and White? Arya notices that there are many staircases and tunnels beneath the temple, and sees some of it, but what is down there? Hi everyone, this is Robert. Welcome to In Deep Geek. On this channel we dive deep into the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, as well as The Lord of the Rings and The Witcher. Welcome. This is another collaboration with the wonderful History of Westeros. Please do check out their amazing podcast and YouTube channel. There's a link in the description. Arya arrives at the House of Black and White in her first chapter of A Feast for Crows, and leaves for an apprenticeship at a playhouse called The Gate at the end of A Dance with Dragons. She doesn't have a lot of chapters in those two books, but a significant amount of time passes. She learns much, from the mundane routines of ordinary folk to the secrets of the faceless men. Yet these two ends of the spectrum are intertwined, as faceless men frequently disguise themselves as ordinary folk. Likewise, she must learn to feign the ordinary in order to become the extraordinary. She is talented and learns quickly, and she rises through the ranks, and in their esteem, she is taken into greater confidence and taught that which only the faceless men know. The techniques and hidden knowledge of the world's greatest assassins, honed over centuries, but also their origins, their motivations. We have seen all this gradually revealed to Arya. Many secrets remain, however, and one of the most intriguing is the very building or temple the faceless men are based in, the House of Black and White. To the outside world, it is a large, grey, windowless building atop a rocky knoll, one of many islands in Braavos. A set of steps lead up from the dock to imposing 12-feet-high doors of ebony and weirwood. Beyond that, the temple, dark and peaceful with statues around its edge and a pool in the middle. Before she is taken into greater confidence, Arya is aware of 3 levels below the House of Black and White. The first level is where the priests and acolytes have their sleeping cells. The second level is where the servants live, while the third contains the holy sanctum, which is forbidden to her at first. We'll come back to that in a bit, because by A Dance with Dragons she has advanced enough to be shown that. But from even early on she is aware that the knoll on which the temple stood was honeycombed with passages hewn from the rock. Hewn from the rock clearly implies that these are man-made tunnels rather than natural ones. It seems the original builders of the House of Black and White knew that they were breaking ground in a place that would allow significant underground expansion. And it brings to mind the first of many parallels or echoes we see here. The faceless men originated in the hellish mines and tunnels of the Valyrian freehold. Now they hide in tunnels of their own making beneath the waters of Braavos. And these tunnels seem to go beyond the island itself. At one point, Arya is made to serve water to a group of 11 servants of the many-faced god, while another acolyte stands across the room with wine. Only 2 of them arrive through the front door, while the other 9 arrive through tunnels and secret passages, presumably from elsewhere in Braavos. Arya explores where she is able. She's allowed to go anywhere she wants inside, as long as she doesn't leave the temple or descend to that 3rd level. During these explorations, she finds a storeroom crammed full of old clothes, which intrigues her. She is later assigned to the task of stripping corpses, those who have come to accept the gift of mercy from the many-faced god. It's simple enough to connect the two. This is the clothing of those who died there in the temple, now used for disguises by the faceless men. She also finds a storeroom full of weapons and armour with an identical purpose. This is the armour and weaponry of the recently deceased. Clearly this is also useful for certain disguises and, of course, to arm oneself. But she realises something is missing. Where is the money? All the dead have clothing, some have armour and or weapons, and some have coins, rings, jewellery or the like, items of value in other words. She assumes there must be vast stores of wealth somewhere, but clearly not on the first 2 levels. And what happens to the body? It seems that it is carried to even lower levels, to where the priests take over, and as Arya thinks, what happened in there she was not allowed to know. But let's follow this money link first. We'll come back to the body in a moment, don't worry, because consider for a moment the difference in what is told to Arya. She is told clearly she can't yet go where the bodies go, but the money is not spoken of at all. Sometimes we find clues in the text that lead us to important conclusions, but sometimes the clues aren't what's there, but what isn't there. In this case, it's noteworthy that across all of Arya's chapters, with her coming to learn about Braavos and its people and culture, the Iron Bank is not mentioned once. They are named plenty of times in other POV chapters, Cersei, Jon Snow, even Ned Stark, but never in the POV of the person who is actually in Braavos. Given the ubiquity of the Iron Bank, this is curious. The keyholders to the Iron Bank are mentioned without context as dignitaries in Braavos, but never that they are keyholders to the bank, and so on. It's as if George is deliberately steering clear of making a link between the Iron Bank and the Faceless Men. Of course, many within the fandom have proceeded to make that exact link, because there must be some link. Two of the oldest organisations in Braavos. And here comes another parallel. The original founders of the Iron Bank built a fortified gate at the entrance to a long-abandoned iron mine and began to store wealth there. As the decades and centuries passed, more and more wealth was stored in their subterranean vaults, and the bank grew in power, influence, and reputation. Mines, secret underground network tunnels, again, echoes. In current times, the Iron Bank is said to be richer and more powerful than all other banks in the world combined, and have been for some time. They must have a staggering amount of wealth, but how did they grow so overwhelmingly successful? Are they truly so much better at banking? We get one clue in Fire and Blood, when the Rogaire Bank of Lys briefly threatened the Iron Bank's supremacy before a couple of suspicious deaths led to its downfall. We know who to blame for suspicious deaths. No, regular viewers, I don't mean Bloodraven this time. The Faceless Men. And in a short video on my other channel, IDG Live, I suggested that perhaps there might be a link between Arya being placed in that Mummer's troop and the Iron Bank wanting to send a message to Cersei on the Iron Throne. It's possible. A look at the map of Braavos reveals that the Iron Bank and the House of Black and White are not particularly close to each other, but not so far that we should dismiss the idea of tunnels. In fact, there are certainly longer man-made tunnels in Westeros, Essos, and the real world, such as in Casterly Rock, or its real-world equivalent, the Rock of Gibraltar, which has a land area of only 2.6 square miles, or 6.7 kilometres, yet it contains 34 miles, or 55 kilometres of tunnels. With that in mind, it's quite easy to imagine an underground passage connecting the Iron Bank to the House of Black and White. Braavos is filled with canals, but it is explicitly mentioned that the third level is protected by a locked iron door behind which are steps that descend below the canals. It is also mentioned that there are secret tunnels leading into and out of the House of Black and White, and the money has to go somewhere. Arya imagines huge vaults filled with treasure, and though she has an active imagination, it doesn't seem like an exaggeration. The Faceless Men take in enormous sums from some of their supplicants. At one point, Ned overhears Littlefinger moan about their prices. "Do you have any idea how costly they are?" Littlefinger complained. "You could hire an army of common sellswords for half the price, and that's for a merchant. I don't dare think what they might ask for a princess." And what expenses do they have? There seem to be very few priests, acolytes, and servants, and I'm sure their temple requires some upkeep, but it isn't exactly gaudy. This is an organisation that takes in vastly more wealth than it spends. If they are storing their money with the Iron Bank, it would help explain two mysteries: why the Iron Bank is so much more powerful than all the other banks combined, and what the Faceless Men do with all their wealth. Perhaps they even have some kind of reciprocal agreement. Wealth management in exchange for the occasional killing of a debtor or rival. It sounds pretty basic, but it could help explain how the Iron Bank has been able to dominate the banking sector so thoroughly. Not only would they have a greater ability to collect on their debts, they would be able to literally eliminate the competition, like the Rogaire Bank of Lys. It's an intriguing theory, which, although it makes a lot of sense, must remain a theory until we get a bit more evidence. Until then, let's limit ourselves to suggesting that one of the many tunnels leading out of the House of Black and White leads to the Iron Bank, where the Faceless Men store all their wealth. One other tunnel that Arya sees is walled with human bones, its roof supported by columns of skulls. It's quite macabre, and calls to mind another echo in the story. Arya's brother Bran is also in a cave system with plenty of tunnels beneath a temple of sorts, and in which there are lots of bones. Getting even more macabre, when Arya is finally shown down into that third level, the sanctum where only priests are allowed, she finds something else that happens to those dead bodies she had been cleaning and removing the clothes from. She is taken down there just after she's been given her first target for assassination, the insurance salesman. It is extremely deep, far below the canals. It only takes 18 steps to reach the first level down, then another 22 to reach the sub-cellar as the passageways grow narrower and steeper. Arya describes the entrance to this second level like a hand, 5 passageways extending from the landing, with the heavy locked iron door guarding another staircase. She counts the steps again down to the third level, and it's far deeper, 54 this time. At the base of the stairs is another iron door, but this one is unlocked. As the door opens and the lantern light spreads, we get this chilling line. 1,000 faces were gazing down on her. It frightens her, despite her best efforts to control her fear. She thinks how she had washed and dressed 100 corpses, how skin is just leather. But afterwards she dreams of the faces, dreams of them watching her, and imagines them whispering dark secrets to each other. And one of those leather skins is placed on her face to give her the disguise and memories of the ugly little girl for whom the chapter is named, and for the face she wears when murdering the insurance man. In this chapter, her final one in A Dance with Dragons, it becomes clear that the size of the house in black and white is far beyond what she had imagined, and she had imagined quite a bit. Indeed, the room with the faces on the third floor is not nearly the end. As the kindly man leads her through the room, she sees a row of tunnels leading off into side passages. Another tunnel reveals winding stairs going even further below into the depths. What more secrets might there be even deeper below the temple? What we do know is that the House of Black and White and its catacombs act as a sort of production line to support the work of the Faceless Men. In the main temple, people drink of the water and sleep forever. The priests and acolytes themselves are based on the first floor beneath that, and the servants the second. Between them, they strip the body of its clothes, weapons, and any wealth. The clothes and weapons are stored for use as disguises by the Faceless Men. Money and valuables are taken away, perhaps down a tunnel to the Iron Bank. The body then heads even further down, its face carefully preserved using some unknown magic. Putting on the face mask means reliving at least the last moments of that person, a horror Arya experiences. The bones presumably go to that corridor we noticed earlier, and the assassins themselves make their way in and out of the complex through still more unknown tunnels. And through all this, George R. R. Martin seemingly nudges us to remind us of how many other similar structures there are in this world. An overground building of some kind, but underneath, extensive caverns, tunnels, and dark secrets. We're reminded of the mines and vaults and gold of the Iron Bank, the bones in the tunnels in Bloodraven's cave system under the weirwood trees, the flayed skins hidden in or under the Dreadfort, Winterfell's crypts with its statues that seem alive somehow. The list goes on. As for the House of Black and White, what we have seen supports our understanding of how the Faceless Men work, with disguises magical and non-magical. It seems obvious now, but that moment Arya saw all the faces looking down at her confirmed how Jaqen had so easily changed his face a couple of books previously. And we have hints of a connection to the Iron Bank, which would make a lot of sense, and a well-oiled system to provide clothing, arms, money, whatever is needed. But what further secrets are there? Why are there all those skulls and bones in that passageway? Could it be the room where the faces are removed and treated with secret magics? How much further down does the complex extend? If the Room of Faces is not the deepest secret, what is? Does one of those passages lead to the Iron Bank, the Sea Lord's Palace, other important venues, perhaps even outside of the city? But as a final thought, what we learn here about the servants of the many-faced god is perhaps reflective of their beliefs. There are many aspects to what they do, though all are connected. This isn't just a temple, and they aren't just assassins. They are both and more. They have a room that literally has many faces. They clearly possess great wealth, and yet even their secret chambers seem austere. There are echoes of similar structures dedicated to the old gods' mercantilism and flaying, and above it all, their temple is as fittingly inscrutable and enigmatic as they are. They are no one and everyone, and their temple is reminiscent of many others, and yet like no other. If you'd like to see more videos like this diving into the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, there's a playlist appearing now on the left of your screen. Or to support this channel, thank you. There's a link to my Patreon page on the right of your screen. Thanks for watching. That's all for this time. I'll see you again soon.